Hi, I'm Jim Stratton, Workday's Chief Technology Officer.
And I'm Ernesto Boada, Interim Chief Information Officer.
Today we're talking about how IT leaders are improving the employee experience to drive innovation, to grow their business, and to retain top talent. More specifically, we'll dive into how IT can use data and technology to deliver a more personalized employee experience. We're excited to share our expertise on this topic with you all, so let's get started. So Ernesto, what is employee experience and how should CIOs be thinking about it?
Well, the way I see employee experience is the sum of all interactions that an employee will have during the lifetime or the journey of an employee at work from the beginning, from when talent acquisition starts to an employee gets onboarded. But then a lot of the time that employee is working and doing delivering, right? There's a lot of things that happen there, and of course towards the end. Now we'll divide it in four. One is the interaction with other people, with co-workers, with managers, with direct reports. That is kind of what builds the culture. The second part is with HR processes, as I mentioned before, right? When we're talking about compensation, when we're talking about learning, performance. So how is that experience? How do I feel that I've been looked as an employee who has a lot of opportunities within the job? The third part is technology. How am I using technology to be able to do my work? What tools do I have to be able to communicate, to collaborate, to do my own analysis? And the fourth one is the physical location. Am I coming to a physical office or am I connecting remote? But how does that work? So employee experience is the sum of all that. I think the job of the CIO is not only to support all the different areas, but look into technologies that can help deliver that better employee experience across. So initially I would say that our biggest influence, the area that we can make a big difference is looking into the technologies that employees will be using on a daily basis and interacting with all the time.
And coming back to it, I think the technologies are part of it, but really the CIO is also enabling CHRO and the CFO
Correct.
and all their users to do the things that they do as
and
well.
And I think
right?
what we do there, you're right, the part that we do there is partnering with, in this particular case, with HR to make sure that we're not just taking the technology as a tool to be able to deliver a functionality. We are sitting together, working together to understand what is that we're trying to accomplish and see kind of how the employees are going to be using that technology. Actually, what is important is to think about that we're building products, even though we're not building the technology itself, but we're delivering a capability. And the idea is to be looking not only the functionality itself, but how the employee is going to be using it, is able to find what they want, is able to do it quickly. So there's many aspects that nowadays we want to be able to change from a CIO organization to work with HR, finance, and other organizations in the company.
So employees' expectations around experience have really evolved a lot over the last couple of years. How should IT leaders be thinking about partnering with HR to really meet those elevated expectations?
So the partnership between IT and HR is key. We need to become employee-centric. We need to be able to look at that. And we want to be able to leverage technology across all the journey that HR will offer to an employee. But also we want to make sure that we look into the data that we can collect and analyze to be able to understand how the experience is happening, what people are seeing across their journey. It is very important for us to give this information and understand kind of what is happening for HR to take the proper actions.
So we've all come to expect really a consumer-grade experience. Think of your phone and all the applications that you use there. We expect that now in the workspace as well, right?
Totally. And one of the things that we've been discussing, and it's an interesting trade-off when you are home and you have a technology challenge, the first thing you do is search and try to find the video and trying to do it yourself, and then you feel so proud that you can do it. When we get to work, we forget about that great ability that people are having. And I think what we want to make sure that we do with technology internally as well, empower our employees to be able to be self-sufficient as well, right? And also not only to be able to find and solve their problems, but if their tools they think that they can use, we need to be able to figure out how we can offer that accessibility to new application systems while we're still protecting our environment, protecting our data. But it's important that they feel like they can find tools to do the job on a daily basis. But yeah, that's just kind of what they're expecting nowadays. They want to see everything in a mobile. They want to be able to not only respond. So one another important part on that is we need to meet our employees where they are acting and working all the time.
It's more important than ever for employers to understand the needs and the wants of their employees, right? But a lot of organizations really struggle to actually measure employee sentiment. So can you help us understand what are some of the technology challenges behind actually measuring that in practice?
I would start saying that one of the most important things is to listen to our employees, right? Is to collect the data and collect enough data so we can truly understand what is behind their thinking and what they're looking for. Now, what are the challenges, right? We need to make sure that we have systems that allow us to collect the data on a recurring basis. We need to be focusing kind of on the themes. So we always, it's not that we're asking always the same, but we're asking relative questions so we truly understand kind of what is in their mind. But we also need to process hundreds of millions of records, right? And we need to put some powerful analytics behind the scenes. So I think that the biggest challenge from a technology perspective is how do we take all this data and truly extract what is important, and then we give this in the hands of our leaders and managers so they can take action and they can work directly with employees. I think that's the biggest challenge, is to have that technology that help us harness all that data.
Well, and you made the point there also that it's not just about surveying employees and understanding what's going on in their lives, it's that bidirectional engagement between the management and the employees and keeping that ongoing.
Correct. We should be triggering communication or conversations between the feedback that we're providing to what the manager may think, right? Sometimes we get the feedback, we may not necessarily understand or have a clear understanding of what they meant. So we need to be able to create that two-way communication and probably make it as transparent or as private as it can be so we can work and act and continue working on employee experience.
So let's get a bit more specific here. How can cloud technologies actually help enable that measurement and analysis of employee sentiment?
I think there's two parts to answer that question. One is the cloud technologies for the employees or like the people under the CIO that work with technologies have helped them to focusing more on the software and application development and putting aside all the probably homegrown application that we have to build or configuration and things like that. They're only focusing right now in to try to deliver that kind of experience. So that elevates in a different way what the work that have to be done. Now, for the rest of the employees, what cloud technologies will provide us is a much bigger and wider array of opportunities to integrate with new technologies, leverage new front ends or again applications. So allow us to increase our ecosystem and switch faster between systems if we want to. So it is giving us the opportunity to be much more agile and direct. Plus, cloud technologies today are built in a way that if we have high volumes of data or traffic, we can expand horizontally or vertically depending on what we need. So it's given us a lot of agility to be able to provide something better in the hands of our employees or in the hands of the people that are working with those technologies.
Yeah, and that agility is key for sure. I mean, we've seen how frequently, week over week, the situations change for all of us over the last couple of years for every type of topic from return to office to how do we just go about our normal business. The speed with which things change is just incredible, and really I think cloud is key for helping us keep up with that.
Indeed. I mean, and I mean, you bring the return to office, right? I mean, I think one of the keys of having organizations, having their employees coming back to work is how can we be agile enough, and even from technology, and there are many other areas, but from a technology perspective, to adapt to what we're seeing, right? I mean, when we went back home, everybody had to work in one single way. When we're back come to the office, we have all these different personas trying to do different work in the office. So for us, cloud technologies give us an opportunity to leverage and move fast and connect and disconnect or integrate or remove it if we want to. And again, the opportunity that we can use technologies that are out there and we can do pilot faster and we can do experimentation definitely open us a great window of opportunity to be really agile for our employees.
And at the end of the day, that is the foundation of an employee's experience, right?
Exactly.
What we're doing day to day and how we
Exactly.
connect with each other.
We need to learn from what they're seeing, what they want, and how we can be that proactive and keep them happy.
So you talked a lot about harnessing data, understanding employee sentiment, gathering data about employees, individuals. But obviously, security and privacy of that data is as important as ever and only increasingly so going forward. So how do technology leaders, how can technology be used to help maintain the security and privacy of that data going forward?
Indeed, is a very important subject, right? Because as I mentioned, we would like to collect as much data. We want to be able to enrich information that we have, but we do need to work with different organizations across the companies to make sure that we understand, again, the data privacy. What are kind of the how do we want to manage that? What are the rules of the engagement? There are technologies out there that we can definitely leverage to make sure that we have enough segregation on the data. We can tag the right data elements, or we can encrypt information so it can be controlled. But definitely it's something that the technology exists, and I think the job is to see how do we marry the set of needs and requirements with the technology. But actually, let me turn it back to you. I mean, what do you think about it? I mean, in your role right now, what do you think about all the data that we're collecting?
Well, and there's two sides to it, really. We host data on behalf of our customers, right? But we also do gather data when customers opt in to allow us to do things like machine learning and advanced analytics and things like that on it. That security and privacy of that has always been baked into the core of our platform for literally from day one, and still is the case today. And so what we've developed now is even for those advanced ML application flows, the ability to maintain that privacy and security all the way through those flows and all the way back up into serving those applications back. And we do that there is this ever-present overlay of privacy and government regulations that govern what customers are allowed to do with that data, let alone what we or individuals are allowed to do with that. So that's always overlaid on top of the technology solutions that we build and provide within the Workday platform itself. How can IT leaders ensure that their data is primed to deliver the right insights for an elevated personal experience?
Well, I think that's also a very important point, right? I mean, we go back to cloud technologies, right? I think the important for us is to be able to collect data, as we were saying before, right? We want to collect as much data as we can. We want to be able to centralize them, enrich the data, process the data, do some cleansing of the data, so we can start providing insights. So I think for us, from an IT perspective, the importance is to put that data out there, right? And in different ways. We want to also be able to provide the data in a dynamic way. So we want to make sure that we provide dynamic dashboards for managers and leads to be able to see kind of what's going on. But if there are questions about how the data has been aggregated or accumulated, the idea is that they can drill down. So the power of again, going back to cloud computing and technologies, is that now we can offer that. We can manage large volumes of data sets. We can process them real time and offer that to our managers and our leads and even to the employees to see kind of what is going on. Now, another part that we're trying to do as well, or we're taking advantage of machine learning and AI, is taking those data sets and also plugging them in new models that we're delivering or putting together, so we can get much more understanding and see kind of what the expectations are, what the trends are. I think that's the power of being able to move a lot of data at the same time.
And the power of being on a single, consistent, and accurate set of data as well, right?
I think that's key, because if we were to have all this data separated and try to work across different, not only applications, but databases and systems, not only creates a lot of stress to our systems, but it does loses all that governance and data integrity that we want to have. Having it in, I mean, physically may not be the case, but having it all together and under one umbrella allow us to definitely take the real power of it.
That's right. Looking forward, what do you see as the next evolution in employee experience, and also how can business leaders invest in technology to meet those coming needs?
Well, it's split in two, is the short term and the long term. Short term, we need to focusing on what is happening right now as we have employees coming to work, and how can we facilitate that return and put the processes and technologies and the facilities that allow us to keep the collaboration that was happening even before the pandemic to now. How can we continue enabling that? The second part is in the long run, which is more about with this flex model, where we'll have a combination of people physically in locations and a combination of people working remote in their houses or maybe other places, is how do we maintain the culture of the company? So it's not just about technology. Technology will help to connect and facilitate, right? But we need to make sure that we continue taking the new version of our culture into this new flexible model.
Well, it's been great chatting with you today, Ernesto. I think you've given our IT audience a lot of really great insights for them to think about. And thanks to the viewers for tuning in. We hope you have a great workday.